Today, we're going to be talking about A Wrinkle in Time and Gringo, so stay tuned.
Welcome to The Real Review.
Welcome to The Real Review, sponsored by Parametric and Lazy Ape Studios, where you get some of the latest happenings, real thoughts, and perspectives in the world of film and television. And I'm here with Ready Player Matt Hay.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Are you excited for that one?
I am excited for that one.
Okay.
Mainly, I wasn't as excited, but then what I'm hearing from South by Southwest, I am excited.
I was like on the fence because we talked a little bit about this. I think I read the book and I wasn't a huge fan of the book.
Okay.
I thought it was really cool. So, like, there's some listeners out there probably like, "What are you talking about? Best book ever!" I thought the referential treatment to like 80s and stuff was really cool. I just felt like it lacked a bit when it came to like the character development side of things.
Okay.
Kind of just like all the characters reach like a certain point and then just kind of like that's it.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of faith in Steven Spielberg at least to make a decent film.
I heard this is his like almost like a return to blockbuster form.
Yeah. Well, and then I saw the trailer Con and I was like, oh my gosh. But then I see more and more stuff coming out and I got a little confused and a little like scared because it looks like we're totally getting sidetracked here. Every single item that he added was like from his films. And I was like, is he just making this all about like Steven Spielberg
Well, he does
stuff?
kind of have a good chunk of the 80s
I know.
are for him.
Yeah, I get it. I was just a little concerned that because there were some really cool like tie-ins from different, projects and shows and stuff from the 80s and 90s. And I was just really concerned that they had sacrificed what they could have available because of Spielberg versus what was like fitting and best.
Right.
But that's good
like
to hear.
what they own copyrights to.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I will say we're talking about Ready Player One for those people who aren't aware.
Exactly.
And we heard good things for A Quiet Place.
A Quiet Place, which I am over the moon about. I'm so excited about A Quiet Place.
So who am I today?
Everybody, I am here with Joel, A Wrinkle Cunningham.
I ironed though, Matt. A little bit, not really.
It's all good.
This is a
ironing's
really,
overrated.
Those on the vidcast, it is overrated.
I buy shirts that don't need to be ironed because I hate ironing, so that's kind of a thing.
Well, you should hang out with Jeremy Irons.
Hey,
there it is. Anyway, welcome to The Real Review. This is where me and Matt basically just sit here and talk about nonsense.
Yes.
No. This is where we talk about films we had a chance to see, give you our perspectives, our thoughts, our reviews. Matt's a bit more of a kind of a fan type perspective, more like the fun and the enjoyable and the emotions that kind of go with that.
Yes.
And I tend to be more of like the stickler, the critic, the hard-nosed kind of like uptight guy. We can put it that way in those terms. So we put those together to give you what we think is a real thought and a real perspective. Unbiased, impartial. We're not paid nearly enough for this. So, or anything at this point. So,
exactly.
Sponsors, LaCroix. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Matt, and why don't you give our listeners some ways to get connected?
Yeah, definitely. Y'all can get connected with us over at realreviewmedia.com, which will actually branch you out and connect you with everything. Our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Real Review Media. Again, that's real spelled R-E-E-L. Email us, realreviewmedia@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on the movies that we're talking about, or if there's something specific, maybe like a Hulu or a Prime or a Netflix film that debuted and you want us to check that out or something. Maybe we haven't had a chance to talk about it. Let us know. And that'd be a great place to do. Also, youtube.com/TheRealReview, where you're watching this video if you're watching this video. So that's what's up, and that's how you
watching
can reach us.
Our beautiful, at least Matt's beautiful visage.
Visage? I don't think that's a...
Yeah.
Is that the right word?
Visage, I think it's a word.
Visage?
Visage. Maybe that's how you pronounce it.
Visage.
No worries. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start off with your film that you had a chance to see, and then we'll get into mine. So, Matt, you got to see A Wrinkle in Time.
I did. I got to see A Wrinkle in Time. Let me give you the breakdown. After the disappearance of her scientist father, three peculiar beings send Meg, her brother, and her friend to space in order to find him. It's directed by Ava DuVernay, written by Jennifer Lee, Jeff Stockwell. Stars Storm Reed, Oprah Winfrey, Reese Witherspoon, Mindy Kaling, Levi Miller, Derek McCabe, Chris Pine, Gugu Mbatha Raw, Zach Galifianakis, Michael Pena.
Lots of folks.
Yes.
That's funny. I'm just before you even get into it, whoever writes the summaries, sometimes they nail them. Sometimes it's like, how could I describe these people? They're peculiar.
Or like, or like a conflict happens when a friend meets another person.
Yeah, it's like the most generic. Yeah. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
Anyways,
yeah.
General thoughts. I felt so meh by this movie.
Oh, man.
So meh. And I went in with really low expectations.
Yeah.
And I still felt meh.
Yeah.
Let's start with the positives. Because I'm a positive person, I like to be on the more positive side, if possible, if given the chance.
Good way of looking at it. I should start with the negatives from now on, and you should start with the
right.
positives.
Maybe we could do that.
Yeah.
But the positives, the acting overall was really good, but where it stands out most is the interaction between the main family, which is Chris Pine, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, Storm Reed's characters, and how they all interconnect, and how they act. It felt very real. All my favorite parts of the movie were not in the other dimensions or whatever you call it. It was all the real world Earth stuff. That's probably, if you can say it shined, that's where it shined.
Okay.
Or it shone, whatever.
Gotcha.
And that was the best part. Chris Pine, just really good in his portraying of his love for his family. Same with Storm. She was a little hit or miss sometimes. Like there's a little bit of like wavering, and like she wasn't showing like a very full range of emotion. She did good like when it was like those really heavy emotional like sad moments, but like anytime there was something surprising, she didn't seem very surprised.
Did she bust out mutant powers?
Right. Gugu, she is continually one of my favorite people to see, even in a bad movie like Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah.
She is just so good. And you believe her. She emotes very, very well. And there's like one scene in particular where she starts like tearing up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not even entirely sure why you're tearing up and why I'm tearing up, but you're so good at this. She's just incredible. So her, Chris Pine, their relationship, even more so than their relationship with their daughter, Storm or son, and them together was the best part in the movie for me. And some of the visuals were really good. Some of them were really good.
I feel like you're adding extra emphasis.
Yes,
yeah.
Some of them were really good. Other than that, that's it.
Okay.
So that's my good.
Okay.
And so like all the real like human interaction stuff, that was really well done in my opinion. Negatives. Let's go into that.
Go for it, Matt.
This is the first time that I saw a movie.
Should I put up my burn shield?
In a really long time where my favorite character, my two favorite characters were actually Gugu and Chris Pine. And they, I feel like they ruined Chris Pine's character with something that happens in the third act, and it's like a 10-second thing. And I feel like they totally ruin his character. Like he's this like father, he misses his family, wants to be his family. This thing, and I don't want to spoil it, but he does something. He says something, and I was like, why did they do that? They didn't even justify it by him talking about it later on. I was like, they totally like ruined his character, and I'm like, why did they do it? I was upset. I was like really upset at the end of the movie. I was like, why did they do that? And they didn't talk about it again. They never addressed it. I was so frustrated. And so I feel like they ruined that character. Other than that, a lot of the other actors and acting was subpar. Actually, Reese Witherspoon was okay. I'll give her that. Everything else, I was kind of like, I don't know. I never read the book, so I'm not familiar with it or how it's supposed to be or anything like that. And the anything in the like extra dimension was just so like meh. I don't know. There wasn't anything extraordinary. Maybe when they first go there, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But everything else after that, and this, I don't get nitpicky like this that much, but this is kind of dabbling in your territory. I felt like the editing was really weird. It was really choppy. Like it was just like, you're here, you're here, you're here. And then like, especially at the beginning, they were like doing close-ups and they cut to something else. And it was really weird to me. I can't describe it. It may not even been the editing. Maybe it's just the way they wanted to. I don't know.
Editing's one of those things for me, and I think for most people that and they always talk about this, when edits are good, you don't even notice the edit.
Right.
But when they're bad, they kind of tend to stand out very strongly. And
okay,
if you're noticing it, then most likely there's an issue there.
Yeah, I don't know. All the auxiliary characters, I was kind of like, they do this weird like visual thing with Oprah's character. It's not her fault, but it's the way that it was presented. I was like, that's that's weird. Why are they doing that?
Yeah.
It's a really weird thing.
I think, not to interrupt your flow.
No, go for it.
The only thing that really had me kind of, I guess, if you will, like afraid for this film, and I didn't end up seeing it. Obviously, I went to see Gringo, but I was watching the trailer, and it felt like they were going for like kind of a simple, fun little romp. And then it was like about halfway to like 3/4 of the way through the trailer, and then this like epic music started up, and it felt like they were trying to turn into this like really big, like, I don't know, like Chronicles of Narnia, or like Lord of the Rings style, like battle thing. Like it was dun 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 dun, and then like I saw like flowers running, and I was like, it felt very discordant. It felt like they didn't really know what tone they were kind of going for with the film.
Yeah, it's for kids. More so than anything. However, there are scenes that are pretty intense that I probably wouldn't take my 6-year-old to see it. You know, although so the one thing I do understand the message behind it. A lot of it has to do with embracing yourself, being positive and kind, and like things like that.
Putting out positive energy.
And I understand that. I don't think it was executed entirely well. There's no clear antagonist either.
Yeah. That would be.
It's kind of like they just call it it.
Yeah, I'd be frustrated by that.
And so I was like, what?
There's no clear antagonist.
I don't know. It was so just mediocre.
Like any movie that has like an ethereal type bad guy, you always have to still bring in, like, if you think of a completely different film, but another Disney film, Neverending Story. That might not be Disney, but Neverending Story.
Okay, yeah.
You know, you had that ethereal it that was like absorbing everything.
Yeah.
But then you still had tangible antagonistic characters that they had to fight against throughout the course of the movie.
Yeah.
So that would really frustrate me most likely if it's like, there's a thing and it's doing bad stuff.
Right.
And, yeah.
And so it was very vague in that sense. Anyways, I just thought it was okay. I mean, I would have. It's definitely more in the not as good of a movie spectrum for me.
Let me ask, this is one of the things that looked really cool though was the production design. I mean, how do you feel like they did with all of that? Art style and, you know, setting, costumes.
Some of it was cool. The costumes don't really pertain that much because you're just talking about these 3 beings that are non-people, and they are the only ones that had costumes.
Gotcha.
Basically.
Okay.
Okay, so there was one moment that I really, probably my favorite moment, is they go to this place, this undisclosed, well, it is disclosed, but I don't want to ruin it. They go to this place, and it changes, and it's basically like really, really weird things. The people there are interacting with you in a really weird way, like kind of a weird, like Stepford Wives, like weird, like interaction with like people kind of. And I kind of thought like a little bit of like Get Out, a little bit like the way that people were interacting, and that part to me got really, really bizarre for a second. I kind of enjoyed that. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is weird. This is really interesting because before then it wasn't interesting to me.
Gotcha.
I was just like, oh my gosh, okay, and I really enjoyed that part. Yeah, I don't know. They set up a bunch of stuff with these extra beings that they didn't need to set up, like a past relationship between 2 of the characters. I was like, that's random.
That's random.
But other than that, man, it's so mediocre. And I would have been on the higher side of mediocre if they didn't, in my opinion, ruin Chris Pine's character with the thing that he says. And anyways, I'm going to give it a 68.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So D+. I was not...
Pretty rough.
Yeah, I don't know. The guy I went to see it with said he liked it, but he said he thought it was better than I thought. I mean, I can see it. I've seen some mixed reviews. I think it's like half. It's pretty split down the middle on Rotten Tomatoes. It's like 49 or something %.
Yeah, I was looking at it. It's pretty low. Right now, 43%.
Yeah, so I mean...
Even fewer audience score.
Yeah, so you're getting... I don't know. I don't, and I like Ava DuVernay. I mean, she's very talented in what she does, and I just didn't think this one was a good one for her.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's had issues with the casting. I think a lot of it really just has to do with the story, and the way that it's kind of fallen so flat and
it's just kind of like meh.
Pointless. But
sorry guys. Sorry if you were really excited for A Wrinkle of Time. I didn't enjoy it that much, but yeah. Anyway, that's me. So what you got?
All right, well, I'm going to talk about what I had a chance to see, which was a film called Gringo. Gringo, a dark comedy mixed with white-knuckle action and dramatic intrigue, explores the battle of survival for businessman Harold Soyinka, played by David Oyelowo. Yeah, I'm not going to keep going for it. But when he finds himself crossing the line from law-abiding citizen to wanted criminal, its director is Nash I can't even get the simple ones.
Come on, name
Nash
guy.
Edgerton. It stars a pretty sizable cast actually, but a lot of them are more just kind of side roles. You had David, I'm not gonna say his last name, Charlize Theron, Joel Edgerton, which I'm wondering if they're related.
I think it's Edgerton.
Edgerton.
I don't know about Nash though.
You have Nash and Joel, and Nash doesn't have a huge filmic type experience on his belt. I think this is probably the biggest project he's done before. You have Amanda Seyfried.
Yep.
Seyfried.
Thandie
Newton, Charlton Copley, Yul Vasquez, which I've never seen anything before. That's pretty much it, I would say. The biggest ones there are David, Charlize, Joel, and Charlton. Actually, Thandie's pretty significant as well there. She plays his wife, ex-wife in the story. I went into this one with not really any expectations. I think I had heard some stuff about it on some different reviews and things like that. It's not doing too well in regards to a lot of the reviews and the way that they're seeing it. I think Rotten Tomato has it pretty low. Yep, 39%. More viewers liked at 44%. But there was part of me was just thinking, just the way that they're advertising it, the way that they're pushing it, I just feel like they're probably expecting it to not be a great film.
Sure.
And I would say I was actually somewhat positively surprised by the film. So the film itself, you've got this character kind of like, it's almost a fish out of water story. Okay. So David in the film, he plays a character named Harold. He's kind of this like down on his luck. I mean, he's not down on his luck yet, but he's kind of like this mamby-pamby, guy that gets pushed around by everybody that's around him. His wife kind of just doing whatever. His boss who helped him get this job, which is a really nice job, kind of pushes him around. He's kind of, if you sort of picture it like, a sheep in a wolf den or something like that. Yeah. And everybody just kind of abuses him and takes advantage of him. And so it sort of tells a story of him kind of like slowly breaking. Okay. Gotcha. And going further and further. But it's
a more detailed synopsis.
Yeah. And I think the idea that it's a dark comedy is maybe pushing it a little far. I think I laughed maybe 3 times throughout the film. But and it wasn't like it was because there wasn't enough jokes, but there wasn't really a lot of, it wasn't because the jokes weren't funny. It was really because more of the jokes weren't really in the film. There was like most of the film was more about the relationship that Harold has and the experience that he goes on as he's kind of like going down this horrible bunny trail of trying to like get money and get back at people and things like that. And so it's like that was more the plot than it was really a setup for dark comedy. Okay. The comedic moments were more of kind of like the fish out of water type stuff. He in this film, and I think in real life as well, is from Africa. I think he's from Nigeria. I'm not positive, but he's a very strong accent. And that's part of the film. He talks about like how he came over to America expecting to be successful and do big things. But he was told by his father, treat everybody with respect, treat everybody kindly, and good things are going to happen for you. And so it's kind of his mental breaking as he's kind of going through this, but not like in a dark way. It's not like, snapping. Right. There are moments where he kind of pointedly goes in a different direction. Okay. I like that when his character showed strong movement forward. I'm talking about things I like with the film. Okay. So again, this would almost work better if I did in reverse, but I really liked actually Charlton Copley.
Who doesn't ever like him? I like him in everything he does.
Yeah, his name is Mitch in this film, and he plays kind of an American mercenary that's sort of turned another leaf and become a humanitarian and helping with humanitarian aid and stuff.
Really?
And yeah.
Is he goofy, kind of like in the A-Team?
No, he's actually serious, and he's like, he's the guy that's like in charge and control and knows what he's doing. Okay. And he has an American accent in the film, and it's freaky. Like, it's really freaky.
He did in the A-Team also.
I didn't see A-Team, actually, so I don't know too much about that.
Yeah, again, he was my favorite person in that movie.
He was really good in this film, and I almost wish he had been a bigger part of it, and his accent was actually really good. It kind of freaked me out, because he has such a strong South African accent that when you hear him just speaking so perfectly American, I was like, how come I can't sound that good when I speak English like you? So he did a really good job. Yeah, I think the thing that the film also set up really well was the antagonists. Okay. It was very clear, like, these are the bad guys, and they're doing bad things because they're just messed up people. I think that kind of then moves into a little bit more of the negative territory. Okay. it really felt like they were going a little too extreme with like, these guys are evil because evil and they want money and I want people to like
so
me.
Cartoon
Cartoon
villainy.
It was a bit one-dimensional in regard to where they were coming from with some of their craftiness and their meanness.
I gotcha.
And because of that, you didn't really get a sense of like, okay, that's realistic why they would want to treat Harold in this way or allow for this certain thing to happen. That's why, again, Mitch, played by Charlton, why his character was so interesting to me in the film, because he had a very clear but like interesting kind of backstory. You know, he was this military guy that done a lot of crazy stuff, and then he's trying to be a humanitarian, and he's kind of torn between taking this choice where he would make a lot of money to help a lot of people, or taking another step and doing some, or saving somebody, basically. Okay. So it's like the one versus the many. And he has this really big, like about halfway through the film, maybe like close to 3/4 way film, he has this like moment of like faith that he's like trying to work out. It's like funny because he's like talking, he just like goes into the Bible and he's like, but Judas and he's like talking with Harold, who's like, I believe a Christian in the film, and he's like, how am I supposed to make sense of this and that? And they have this like moment where they could like talk about it, and then it just like that was actually one of the funnier parts.
Oh, really?
And
that's funny.
It was a little bit flagged, a lot of the moments in the film. I think that would be another really big negative for the film. You kind of saw everything coming. It made complete sense. It's like, okay, well, that character's going to do that. And their motivations were very, again, obvious.
Predictable.
And very flat. So the predictability, I think, being what it was, made it less intense.
Okay.
I think if it had been a little less predictable, that would have added to that sort of dark intrigue and that sort of like, what's going to happen? Is that person going to explode or blah? Not that it would
dark
explode,
intrigue.
Yeah, exactly. It would add to that dark intrigue a bit. And that would have been nice. I think that would have helped a lot with the script. Acting-wise, I think everybody did a good job with what they had.
Yeah.
Again, because their characters were so one-dimensional, it was kind of hard to see them beyond that. But it was fun. Watching Charlize Theron be this like outrageously like she's hard to explain. She plays basically this lady that works at Joel Edgerton's company, same place that Harold works. Harold.
Does she have dreads?
No, she doesn't. Thankfully, and she's a bit of a similar thing to Joel Edgerton's character, who's David's boss in this, or Harold's boss. He kind of started this company, and they kind of had to do some bad stuff in order to get the company to become successful. And they're kind of at the cusp of the company going into a much better place. Okay. And so in order to get that to happen, they kind of have to try and cover up some stuff that they did in the past.
Shady.
Together. Yeah.
Shady corporate stuff.
I think that also lends itself a bit to some more of the negative stuff. I didn't really get it. So the film ends. I'm not going to say specifically what happens, but
the credits roll.
The credits roll, right? And a couple of the characters, it kind of goes in very specific directions. Like you have very clear, like this character went that way, that character went that way. Like they give you all the information. And it made sense for most of the characters, kind of like what happened and why it happened to them. Yep. Except for one character. I don't know if I should say who it is.
Probably not.
Okay. But I didn't get it. It was like almost like the script was treating this character like they were a good person.
But they're not?
No, they were really awful.
Yeah.
Like pretty much everybody except for Harold and Amanda
And then
Seyfried.
this terrible person eventually end up winning the lottery.
Pretty much. Yeah. Well, not kind, but kind of. Yeah, like, they didn't get like, they got lucky, but it was a very like orchestrated kind of luck.
Sure.
And it was like, I was like, why are you treating this person like they're like a good person? Like they did some really bad stuff and they kind of allowed, and like maybe they weren't as guilty as the other people, but they were right along board with pretty much everything that was happening there. Right. So that was a little odd. Yeah. But overall, I left it with a more positive experience.
Yeah. You said you were telling me that you kind of feel maybe like you liked it more than what most people kind of give it credit for.
Yeah. I don't know why it's getting as much hate. I think it is pretty like formulaic in some ways. It's what you've seen before. But it's a different kind of fish out of water story because it's like a fish out of water that then gets thrown into a second pool because he's in Mexico most of the film. So it's like you have a Nigerian guy that goes to America that's being treated bad that then gets thrown into Mexico. And it's like, and so there's some interesting aspects there. So I don't know why necessarily it's getting as much hate.
What is it at?
Right now it's at, I think I mentioned this, 39.
39, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
and then 44% for audience score.
What would you give it?
So overall, I'm giving this one a C-.
Okay.
I'm giving it like a 72 kind of range. So it's not, it's not great, but I didn't leave it getting mad. I think I was just kind of bored.
I got mad, and I don't get mad easy.
Yeah,
in mine, so that's fine.
I think the only reason I was bored so much is, again, just because it's so predictable.
Yeah.
But the acting is good. The action that's in it is good and effective. Everything that happens, for the most part, except for the very end, like I talked about, pretty much makes what happens at the end makes sense.
Okay.
But it just feels like they shouldn't have treated it like, oh, that's a positive thing. It's like, no, that's
it doesn't. It's not consistent.
Yeah.
No, I gotcha.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So that's it. Any thoughts? Questions?
No, that I was just curious about it. I had seen some promotional stuff about it, and I didn't know anything about really the whole synopsis. So, you broke it down. I gotcha.
This is one I would be really interested to hear some of our audience perspective on it.
Okay.
Feel free to email us if you get a chance. I just want to know why it's getting so much kind of negative. I don't understand why it's that bad. You know, it's not original in the sense that it's nothing like any other film that's ever been made, but it's more original than some of the the repeats and the rehashes and the sequels that we've kind of seen coming out. Yeah. And it's a dark comedy, but it's not like crude humor really.
Sure.
There is some crudeness to it, but it's not like making jokes about farts and sex and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
To hear it.
Cool, man.
So, cool.
That kind of brings us into one thing I want to take a note, because I was on Rotten Tomatoes here looking at the score for Gringo.
Yeah.
Then I noticed that there's a few early reviews for what some people had hoped to be the video game movie to break the curse of video game movies, which is Tomb Raider.
Oh, dear. No. I don't think that one looks great to me.
It's at 50%. Right now. It's only 10 people have reviewed it, but still, it usually doesn't fluctuate a ton.
I was really hoping for more. I mean, it's Alicia Vikander, right?
Yep.
She's taken on some.
I hope it's better than
projects.
Assassin's Creed, because she's married to Michael Fassbender, right?
I don't know.
Or dating. They're together in some way, shape, or form.
Know.
Anyways, as long as it's better than that, because that movie was not good.
Yeah. Because if you're familiar with the video game series, I haven't played it since I think like the second game or something like that, but like they took it in a much more realistic direction. They tried to ground it and become much more of like a cinematic type game. And I had heard that they were going to take that emphasis with the film and make it less cartoony. But then you start watching the trailers and it's like the same cartoony stuff we've seen.
The first one I didn't like. The second trailer I liked, but it's all good. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, digress.
No worries. I appreciate you bringing it up. This is where we talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man.
So good stuff. Cool. So we're going to go ahead and sign off on the podcast. Again, some good ways to get connected to us. RealReviewMedia.com for our website. Our Facebook is Facebook.com/RealReviewMedia. We have our Instagram and our Twitter, which are both at RealReviewMedia. And then RealReviewMedia@gmail.com if you'd like to let us know your thoughts, your perspectives, especially for what we've talked about today. As I mentioned, Gringo, maybe on Tomb Raider or something like that. Maybe you're excited for Ready Player One. We'd love to hear your thoughts and perspectives there. And definitely check out our YouTube again, which is youtube.com/TheRealReview. There it is. Cool.
You got it.
Anything else, Matt?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, it's been real.
It's been real.